54, 254. Language of the heart. It's interesting in one sense, just as a matter of historical interest. This article is all about humility. It encompasses about 5 or 6 pages, and it was written in 1961. It never once mentions the 7th step, which in other literature humility is supposed to be the nexus, the crux of the 7th step. In fact, the so-called principles behind the steps name humility as the principle behind the 7th step. And this article is never once mentioned. There is a very, very interesting allegory which Bill has proposed in this article, which I think we've looked at this once before, but to me it's such a beautiful job. I thought maybe we'd enjoy doing it tonight. There's just a few of us here. On page 255, the third full paragraph, right about a third of the way down the page. Now that we no longer patronize bars and bordellos, now that we bring home the paychecks, now that we are so very active in AA, and now that people congratulate us on these signs of progress, well, we naturally proceed to congratulate ourselves. Yet we may not be within hailing distance of humility. Meaning well, yet doing badly, how often have I said or thought, I am right and you are wrong. My plan is correct and yours is faulty. Thank God your sins are not my sins. You are hurting AA and I'm going to stop you cold. I have God's guidance, so He's on my side. And so on indefinitely. The alarming thing about such pride blindness is the ease with which it is justified. But we need not look far to see that this deceptive brand of self-justification is a universal destroyer of harmony and of love. It sets person against person, nation against nation. By it, every form of folly and violence can be made to look right and even respectable. Of course, it's not for us to condemn. We need only investigate ourselves. Of course, that's true whenever we work with the steps and as we follow a spiritual path. We always go back to ourselves, see what's going on with us. How then can we do more and more about reducing our guilt, rebellion, and pride? When I inventory such defects, I like to draw a picture and tell myself a story. My picture is that of a highway to humility, and my story is an allegory. On one side of my highway I see a great bog. The highway's edge borders a shallow marsh, which finally shelves down into that muddy morass of guilt and rebellion in which I have so often floundered. Self-destruction lies in wait out there, and I know this. But the country on the other side of the road looks fine. I see inviting glades, and beyond them great mountains. The countless trails leading into this pleasant land look safe. It will be easy, I think, to find one's way back. Together with numbers of friends, I decide to take a brief detour. We pick our path and happily plunge along it. Belatedly, somebody soon says, maybe we'll find gold on top of that mountain. Then to our amazement we do strike gold, not nuggets in the streams, but fully minted coins. The heads of these coins each declare, this is pure gold, 24 carats. Surely we think this is the reward for our patient plodding back there in the everlasting brightness of the highway. Soon, though, we begin to notice the words on the tails of our coins. We have a strange forebodings. Some pieces carry rather attractive inscriptions. I am power. I am acclaim. I am wealth. I am righteousness, they say. But others seem very strange. For example, I am the master race. I am the benefactor. I am good causes. I am God. This is very puzzling. Nevertheless, we pocket them, but next come real shockers. They read, I'm pride. I'm revenge. I'm disunity. I'm chaos. Then we turn up a single coin, just one, which declares, I am the devil himself. Some of us are horrified and we cry, this is fool's gold, and this is a fool's paradise. Let's clear out of here. But many would not return with us. They said, let's stay here and sort over those damn coins. We'll pick only the ones that carry the lucky inscriptions. For instance, those that say power and glory and righteousness. You fellows are going to be sorry you didn't stick around. Now, strangely, it was years before this part of our original company returned to the highway. They told us the story of those who had sworn never to return. They had said, this money is real gold, and don't tell us any different. We're going to pile up all we can. Sure, we don't like those fool mottos, but there's plenty of firewood here. We'll just melt all this stuff down into good, solid gold bricks. Then our later rivals added, this is how the gold of pride claimed our brothers. They are already quarreling over their bricks when we left. Some were hurt and a few were dying. They had begun to destroy each other. The symbolic picture graphically tells me that I may attain humility for today only to the extent that I am able to avoid the bog of guilt and rebellion and that fair but deceiving land which is strewn with the coin of pride. This is how I can find to stay on the road to humility which lies in between. Therefore, a constant inventory which can reveal when I'm off the road is always in order. That's a pretty strong piece, isn't it? Whenever I think of humility, I find myself becoming very simplistic about it. Because I read in the big book on page 85 that there is one who has all power. That much has already been said about finding God who has all knowledge and all power. And if I believe that God has all knowledge and all power, then of course, what is left for me to be prideful or egotistical about? And that's my view of humility. Now it's up for all of us to discuss what we've just read, and who would like to start? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I quite understood the symbolism. Can you just kind of paraphrase it for me? What they just said, gold, and that. I just didn't, somehow I kind of missed the point. Or I'm not sure I had it. What were they? What are they saying?
The coin of pride is inscribed with all of these things that have to do with power and ego, manipulation, control, total involvement in self, and then eventually it comes down to that one coin that says, I am the devil himself. A lot of this also has to do with fear, rampant fear, because it is only when we are faced with the fears of not being able to survive without being in charge of our own lives, making our own decisions, ordering our lives to suit ourselves, the same things that didn't work before. In other words, what it tells us in the 3rd chapter, that we had to quit playing God because it didn't work. But if you look at those coins, those are all the coins that go with the prideful, egotistical, power-driving person. And also there's a very strong message there about the accumulation of wealth. Now the big book tells us that financial recovery always comes after spiritual recovery, never precedes it. In fact, I think the exact quote is, financial recovery always follows spiritual recovery, never precedes it. And yet, I know you've watched what's going on around here quite a bit. I don't know how long you've been sober. I've seen you a lot, so you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people get caught up in the idea that they're not going to be happy and they really can't recover till they've recovered financially. And there's a huge push to go out and gain wealth and all the things that go with wealth. And many people have come from a place of wealth and influence and power and have been knocked clear down to their knees. And one of their main concern after sobriety is to get that all back. But it tells us that this is fool's gold. It does not lead us to happiness, because it is the reverse of the coin of humility. And in this humility we give credit to God, we give credit to our higher power for those things in our lives which we've been granted, the miracles that have happened. And we don't take credit for those things ourselves. And humility and service has been said to be the two hallmarks of recovery. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Who's next now? Stan?
Yeah, I'm Stan. I'm an alcoholic. That couldn't have been a more appropriate reading for me. To tell you a little about myself, I got sober at 78. By the time I was about 23 and a half, I was beaten to my knees. And I stayed sober to 90. And somewhere in there, like you said, I can remember, was just so happy to be sober. I did a lot of other chemicals too, which really put a hurt on me. I can remember, like, literally almost coming back to life and seeing wildflowers again, all that stuff. And there's that saying you hear around the groups, don't let the things that AA gives you take you away from AA. I became very successful in the insurance business. And it was this, after a while, I never stopped going to meetings or anything. I really was a believer. I believed in God, prayed every day. But through a lot of circumstances and stuff, and a lot of influences on me, it wasn't nowhere near as strong as I thought it was internally. The coin, like you said, flips around. Instead of me owning my stuff and serving me, my proper needs, my family's needs, God's needs, it all became about me and my stuff, and trying to hang on to it. And at the same time, staying sober, and I couldn't do it. I wound up just about having a nervous breakdown, losing it all, going through a horrendous divorce in sobriety. And then my arrogance and my pride took over, and it was like, all right, God, this is what you got in mind for me, screw you too. Please don't take it as that offensive, but there was I couldn't say I was innocent and didn't know the way. That's what I was doing. And it's taken me a long time, and 8 years bouncing around, and came back for a couple of years, and recently I just had to get knocked down again. And this time all I can say is I feel different inside, because I think I've truly conceded to it. And I've read this stuff 1,000 times. Been to more than 1,000 meetings, 2,000, 3,000. And somehow, and I believe it is totally through the grace of God, I'm starting to feel this, instead of just kind of understand the concept up here, I'm starting to be able to live it. And it's a rare day. That's why I want to come to this language of the heart, where I don't break down in tears or get moved to tears by sometimes what's going on. And I say it now, I got a tear coming. And I know it's a good thing. Yep. I don't understand it all, but I think it's all these years of just pridefulness. And that's how I knew how to survive, too. Surviving the streets and that, was hard-headed, stubbornness. And today I'm realizing if I submit all that, whatever it is, strength, hard-headedness to God's will, fantastic things are happening in my life. Because I'm not attached to the chaos anymore. And, well, I couldn't have been, I understood that too. And that's the other thing I got from that is, if the devil comes at you with a pitchfork and flames smoking out his nose, he's okay, I ain't going to go over there. The enemy, pride, whatever word you want to put it, always looks good. It seems like the right thing to do. He's talking about the mountains, the streams, the lakes. Well, that's a lot more attractive than the fog. So I have to really stay on my toes, to follow with this alligator about where my motives are coming from. And it's hard for me, you know, I get all fouled up in the head sometimes. This is like a total circus. I got so much burden on me, and my mom and my daughter, and because of that success, it's almost like I got to pay like double child support to normal guy who doesn't act because I was making so much when I got divorced. And they don't want to hear about that. I can't make that much anymore.
Yeah.
But it's all right though. It's really, truly, I've become a full believer. It used to be 449. It's all happened for a purpose, and it's no mistake. He's sitting here right now, and I'm blessed to be able to see and feel these things. And I truly feel if I stay sober and continue to do this, God's going to keep revealing more and do good works through me, because it's He's doing the work, not me. It took me 48 years to get that, but I'm glad I'm starting to understand.
Yeah.
That's
Would you agree that it's true that it is, we need to be spiritually fit in order to handle success as well as to handle failure?
Absolutely. It's got to come from the inside out, not the outside in. And sometimes I miss that I can't even now. My mind is not as clear. My life is more complicated than I'd like. I come down here in '98 and was way in debt, no license, legal issues, and I was in a halfway house, sober house, and all the guys had bicycles. I didn't even have a bike. And then the druggie buddy was bringing us back home one day, and I saw this pink huffy girl's bike laying on right on the side of the road there. And I told the guy to stop. It was right by the house. Got out. All I had was a flat tire. I had $10 I could spend, so I fixed the flat for $7. Bought a can of black spray paint for $1. And it even had baskets on it. So I could go grocery shopping and that, right? And I remember this day like it was yesterday. And I said, "Thank you, God." Because now I have the other guys had 21 speeds, but I can hump up to the crossroads up there in Delray on my bike. And I was genuinely grateful for that, you know, with all that's going on. And that, to me, I've had many blessings, and God's allowed me to remember. Because I hadn't been grateful for a damn thing in many years. You know, we got $100 grand in the bank, and I blew that all away and more. And I was just so grateful I had a set of wheels. So I believe that's divine intervention. You know, I wish I could keep it that simple today. But it's not quite that simple. But it's, I don't know. I like that kind of feeling. To me, that was true and that was pure, because it just happened that way. And so there's an $8 Huffy bike meant more to me that couple months, you know, than all the fancy toys I had before.
Good.
Anyway, I didn't mean to ramble on that, but
Well, that's all right. We're glad you're here, and thanks for sharing that with us. Who's next? Marilyn, do you have something to share with us tonight about this?
Question before we pass on.
Yeah, sure.
12 years from 78 to 90, when you were going in and out.
No, I wasn't going in and out.
No, you weren't drinking at that time. You said that you were clean. You were.
Right, yeah, no, that was continuous, right.
But did you have a sponsor, and were you doing the steps at that time?
Yeah, I had the same sponsor for the whole time. And I also had been through the steps a number of times.
Okay, thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Why did you get drunk?
Huh?
Why did you drink?
He wasn't drinking.
Oh, you wasn't?
Oh, well, eventually I did, because I couldn't handle losing everything. And I had some pretty deep scars from childhood. I don't want to segue into stuff, but there were things that I really couldn't get to, and I had to look at.
So you couldn't do it force then?
No, I had done force stuff. I had done plenty, but somewhere along the line I failed to, even though I was going through it, I failed to perfect and continue on my spiritual development. But I wasn't aware of it. And I got overwhelmed. The business, the 70 hours a week, the ex-wife with all kinds of problems, the marital therapy, the child that she stopped taking a pill, all these things, and I lost my perspective. I can see that clear now when you're in the middle of it. I couldn't see it. But so be it.
Thank you. Who's next now, please?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Marilyn, an alcoholic.
I remember.
I think that what this really talks to me about is our ability to rationalize everything. And we don't want to look at things as these bad sides of the coin, because we rationalize everything we do to higher motives or whatever, but these really are the back of the coins of these certain things, and, like, I hate when people go in a meeting and say, I didn't get sober to be uncomfortable, or I didn't get sober to have trouble at home, or I know that I'll be well because I'm sober, or whatever. And it's like, I personally believe that I traded my future to do whatever God wants of me and to help other people. And it says in the big book how not everybody gets well. I mean, physically well. Not everybody is wealthy, but people are used in different ways for the cause of helping others to stay sober. And that one goal is keeps us on the right track. We have that purpose that you were talking about in the meeting earlier. And I've heard this particular line by a few people. You are hurting AA and I'm going to stop you cold. I have heard a couple of people say, I had to stop them from what they were saying because there were newcomers in the room and I didn't want them to hurt the newcomers. And I've heard a couple of people say this. And it's like, I don't know how they're going to do that because I've been trying to control people all my life and it's never worked. I had to quit playing God. It didn't work. So, what I learned today is that people are going to say whatever they want. But whether or not I accept it is my responsibility. And the test that I put to everything, like you told me, was where's that in the big book and where is God in that equation for myself personally. And if I get a chance to share in that meeting, so be it, but I'm not saving all these newcomers by harassing somebody else. That's harassing. That's not helping. That's belittling. That's, I don't know. What your intentions are and what you do are two different things. And everybody's got good intentions, or they rationalize everything to good intentions.
That's what I do.
But you don't always do good. And, and so anyway, like it's God's will. Like, I'd rather have more money than less money. That would be, in my own mind, good. But if God wills me to have less money, then that's His will. I hate when people say, well, come here to get sober. I made more money, when I was drinking or whatever, and I need to get sober to make less money or whatever. And some people really believe that, and they're like, this is not right. And it's like, well, you were going to die. It's like you wouldn't have had too much money for long because you were going to die. It's like you got to think the whole thing through. It's like we got to do what God wants us to do now. And we can't put the same, maybe we won't have this marriage anymore. It's up to God. So, I don't know if any of that makes sense. I'm especially foggy this evening, but...
Is that it?
I think so.
That was good, Marilyn. I don't know, you got nothing to apologize for. That was good.
Yeah, the problem I have right now, the humility, like he had his bike, it was a real, God sent is really special. I've been through that several times. Tried to kill myself, number one. got 2 DUIs, and I'm the only guy in history that went to prison for 6 months for getting 2 DUIs. That's one off the top. It was an injury accident. So it was a felony, and then I had another one. And each time that I straightened myself out, with bikes and couldn't drive and simple things like riding my bike along and just being happy. Right now I'm in that state where, and I can't understand the last time, and it's back in October, I went through like a 4-month alcohol binge to the point where my dad had a cop show up at my door, and they were knocking on the door, telling me they were going to take me to the hospital. My dad didn't know what was wrong, he did something wrong. And I had this hate for the cops so bad, I had this fear of going to jail because I had been there. And I was telling people before this, man, because I didn't do what was going on. If I go to jail, then I'm just going to kill myself. I will not go to jail. So I remember when the cops let me go, they said, "Down, we're sending a dog if you don't come out." And so I took a whole handful of sleepy pills. But okay, take them. And then I went, and the last thing I remember, my dad said, "You were in the hospital, biting, falling around the floor." I mean, I just wake up. My point is that of all of these bad things that have happened to me, last week I was over in Tampa driving by a bar thinking, what if I just stop by for a drink? I'll meet some women, I'll do this. Why is my memory so short that 5 times in my life I have been to the point where I hated myself so bad because I just, caused all kinds of pain to myself, to everyone around me. But then why don't I remember that? Why is that not? How many times do I need to, and the last time that happened, that I cleared myself up, and each time I did, I was doing real good, making money, I do it every time I'm not drinking, and then I slip into that, thinking I can get it all multiplied. I know how it works, I've seen it several times, but then what is wrong with me?
Well, that's one of...
I'm thinking about going to a new bar again. Same thing's going to happen.
That's part of the disease. Here's what the big book says. Listen carefully now. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week ago. We are without defense against the first drink. That's you.
But then I'll bring her, and you get back into it. One of these meetings, and not only these meetings, but you, Jim, and Marilyn too, and she handed me something to read the other day, and I read it. So regardless of, she said, well, I don't know, I'm giving up some things in order to be able to help people. Well, you are. And I was kind of sliding on here, going to meetings, and one of the first readings I did in a long time was the other day when she handed me that. And, so it's you guys that say, because you care so much and you're so good at what you do, and her, that is bringing me maybe to that next level, that next little bit, say, come on, you can do it, or, pedal a little faster, or read this. So, it's...
Good. And the truth is you can.
I go through right now, not thinking, they say, don't think about the problems and this and that, because I can't. If I stop and think about all the shit that's happened to me, all the things I've done, and all the debt that I've incurred, and all this, then it will get me down, so I don't. But sometimes I'll slip back into,
Well, we all have exactly the same problem. None of us are angels. But what happens is that you learn from your past what didn't work. When you're doing your inventory, you're not looking to see how bad you are. You're looking to see what didn't work for you. Because you're going to stop doing what doesn't work, and you're going to start doing what will work. And as soon as you start doing what will work, your whole life changes. The steps are not there to indict you. or to make you wrong. They're there to show you what needs to be changed. And a lot of the stuff can't be changed without God's help, but will be changed when you invoke His help. And it's all very automatic, and it's very simple. There's nothing esoteric or far out about this stuff at all. It's very, very pragmatic. You do this work and you get these results.
What happened before was that after the meetings, and I know that with how I forget things so fast, that I'm hoping that key to my long life is keep on the AV. This meeting, I called up when I got down here, and something I found about some health center or something. They said, hey, they directed me to this one, which was that bike. You were that bike sitting on the side of the road. And since I came to this person, I've been to several of them. And, this wasn't, something about you that I think I'm supposed to be here. Jim.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Jim, isn't this one of those, what we see about all the time, the blank mental spots where thinking alone won't do it because he's powerless knowing the consequences, and all the knowledge won't keep him away from the first drink. And so what would the spiritual tool be if he's going by a bar in Tampa and he's from our area of Pompano Beach to be able to call upon so that he can do something positive for himself, to be able to use his training vis-a-vis these meetings to be able to do something positive to help himself?
Well, that's not the ultimate point, is it? The ultimate point is that by the time we reach the 10th step, we'll seldom be tempted, and if we are tempted, we'll recoil from it, because the problem is solved. You see, the obsession, compulsion to drink is taken from you, but you have to do the work first to get to it. The exact quote is on page 442. I knew from that moment that I had an alcoholic mind. I saw that willpower and self-knowledge would not help in those strange mental blank spots. I'd never been able to understand people who said that a problem had them hopelessly defeated. I knew then it was a crushing blow. You see, we always have to go back to the basic. The basic fact is that for each one of us, and it's always the same, that we're powerless over alcohol. We can't not drink. To say to you, just don't drink, is to tell you to do something you can't do. If you're a real alcoholic, you can't not drink. You may be able to stay away for a few days or a week or even a month, but sooner or later there will come one of those strange mental blank spots, and you will drink again, because you are an alcoholic, and it's the nature of an alcoholic to be powerless over alcohol, meaning precisely that we can't stop drinking on our own. If we could stop drinking on our own, we wouldn't need to be here. You're one of us. But what we have to do is we've got to get God between us and the booze. Now there's a very important fact for you to remember. Every time you hear chapter 5 read, that you're an alcoholic, can't manage your own life, no human power is going to relieve you of your alcoholism. God can and will, if you do what? If you seek Him. So the key there is start seeking God. Find somebody who's going to help you. You seek God by working the steps. It's real simple. Just all you got to do is do it. So, yes, Marilyn.
I just want to say something about that. Because, what John's referring to, the other day, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but he was talking about, he likes girls and he wants to, he wants to find girls in bars because he likes girls. But I think that more the point is,
companionship issue.
well, yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about sex, but I'm just saying that that's where you found your comfort in the past, and what this program teaches is to find God, and God knows you like girls, God made you like girls. God put that's the instinct. So if you see God, He'll find you the right girl, and it won't be distorted like every other time you found girls, and it was selfish, but it'll actually be a good relationship because it's a God-given thing. But to seek it instead of God, you're going to do it the same way you always did it. But if you seek God, He put that in you for a reason. He probably wants you with a girl. But if you put that first in front of Him, then you're going to distort it or pervert it like you've always done in the past.
Well said. I'm going through that right now. I don't particularly like being alone, but I'm being patient because I know everything I've been through, I know how to get girls seeing this, that, next thing. It's been negative, especially recently. And now my mind's clear, and that's not what I'm looking for anyway. I've been through this, enough one-night stands, et cetera, et cetera. I really would like some companionship, and maybe sex, and who knows, whatever. But I'm willing to just I went through, it was rough last night, Friday night, but I was just tired. And I was beat, but I was aware of these things. So I said, oh, God, But I prayed. I had a thought in prayer the other day, but it was a thought, not an obsession. And thank God, I was sitting in my car, I went to work, I was beat, and I realized, I'm just looking for a little relief because I'm beat. And God, please help me with this. Immediately, it's just that I forgot thinking about it. I had time as I drove home, and it went away. I couldn't would if you were saw it, just like Jim said. Sometimes it's that simple. And then, of course, but to keep it going, the steps and everything we talk about. But I can't do it, and that's what I wanted to say too about my last sobriety. You noticed how many times I said I made all that money, and I could bench press 400 pounds, and I quit smoking.
Yeah.
And I realized that. It was the ego came back. I have a very, very large ego, and if I don't submit to God first, it tears me apart. If I do it the other way, I think it'll be tremendous to my benefit and those around me. That's what bothers me the most now too. The people I've hurt, my mom, my daughter, stuff like that. That heck with me. I lived in a box, But anyway.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Tommy, did you want to share something with us?
My name is Tom Marcos.
Hey, Tom.
And like Marilyn was saying, the one night stand lasted anywhere from 6 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
It was a one night stand when I started with it, but then
You were getting worse than me.
and it cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And she's still there. And I was a one night stand. But if I'm if I'm seeking God, God will put the right one in there for me.
That's right.
And it's easy to go back to the way I used to be. I mean, I could go to bars. I'll just go for dancing and companionship, Yeah. I did that one night stand for that 2 years. But I know how to handle that. I've done that in the past. I know how to survive a 2-year relationship. I know how to do that. So I know how to handle that because I've done it before. It's painful as hell, and I'm always wishing I hadn't done it. Probably go back to the old behaviors because it's comfortable. I'm comfortable going to jail and calling people up and being bailed out. It's comfortable because I know how to do it. I know I've done it so many times. I don't know how to stay sober. I don't know how to stay out of relationships and stay out of trouble. But I'm learning. Learning a little bit every day. Some days I don't learn anything. Every day. As long as I don't drink and go back, as long as I don't drink and go back to what I was completely, I got a good chance of staying sober today and maybe more. That's what I've learned so far. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for sharing.
Larry, did you have something you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I was looking at some of these, thank God your sins are not man, so cool. And I was trying to think of what I was told, quit playing God, Larry. And it was in the realm of high school and 12-step calls by myself, without God or anybody. I mean, I knew that I could. I had empathy towards this guy. I knew what to tell him, or I had, and I was drank over it. They wore me out. And, I put him in a halfway house or hospital. And I'd go home and One time it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, I finally got rid of him in the hospital. And I was going out and it was payday, and I went back and I clocked in and they gave me my check, and I went to the bank and I said, where should I go? To a final for a special needs person. And this guy came up and back to me and said, stick him up. And it was a friend of mine, AA friend. And he says, how are you doing? He said, I work great. There was that blank spot. And he said, go back, punch out, take the afternoon off, go home, go to bed. And just with that advice. And something my sponsor never did for me was to come to my house. But he came to my house that day, and on Sunday, and just had to be the grace of God, just being with me whether I wanted him with me or not. So, in the realm of, I kind of just listened to, if you help people out, you're going to stay away from the drink. No, that's not what I thought my second year on. And so I was playing God. It was one of the, and that's where my pride came in.
Mhm.
That's where, I never was any good at it. Never any good at passing the message along. And then I would feel bad for these guys, and I would loan them money, and I would, that's how I was doing it. I was doing it never saying, well, why don't you just get on your knees and ask for help? Because I wasn't asking for help. So for a long time, and then I just gave up. And I used to see, wonder how people could 12-step people. I just, I didn't have the knack of it. And what can I do to contribute back to Alcoholics Anonymous in a gratitude way? And I couldn't do anything. Until I came here. And I'm sitting here minding my own business, and someone says, you're untreated alcoholism. And I said, that just rang a bell. And then I went into the steps. And I skirted these steps, and as soon as I get into these steps and made my fifth step, fourth step, and fifth step to the best of my ability, and I see how it works. And you asked me one time after my fifth step how it felt, and I didn't know. It was a strange feeling. I felt free. I felt relief. I just felt a part of AA. I really never felt a part of AA. I just felt on the outskirts for 31 years. That's a terrible place to be.
Oh, yeah.
And and that was pride. A lot of that was pride that, fool me. Anyway, that's I couldn't find myself in here, but I eventually said, I was playing God many times, and I wasn't depending on God.
Sure.
And that's, well, I gotta look at it every night when I take my inventory.
Well, thank you, Larry.
Thanks for sharing.
Did you want to share something with us?
My name is John. I'm an alcoholic and addict, and I just want to listen. I'm kind of only been sober for a week or so.
Welcome, John.
Welcome back. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, guys. Doc, did you have more that you wanted to share with us? You, Doc?
Yeah.
Howard?
Yes, sir. Well, just a quick thought. I've had a story going on in my mind. You know the triple insignia that we have from the neat. And
Yeah.
one thing that's been really coming to me, because I like to try to put things into a visual picture, because that's how I see things the best. And the one thing that I've come to really debunk the myth of the 1 year of sobriety before you get into a relationship, etc., and you get a balderdash for that, need to be a year and all that. And I've really come to think of it. Tom, put out your arm for a second, if you will. It's almost like in there, it's like people holding on, and the triangular effect I get is a man and a sponsor holding on to the upper part of the triangle is God. And the man that I get in there is God holding on to a sponsor, and then the sponsor holding on to his sponsee. And the thing that's really funny about that I see, is that once the sponsor is holding on, like with all your years and all your teachings and all your knowledge, you've got a real firm grip with the Lord above, and that's a great combination to get onto as a sponsee. But what really happens is in that first year, if people who are sponsors and haven't gone through the steps and don't have a real firm grasp with the Lord above, how can they go ahead and teach something that they don't know to a sponsee? Mm-hmm. So last 2 weeks ago, I had gotten my first year, so now that I've been going to the meetings and continue to go to the meetings, they say, if you've got 1 year or more, put your hands up, you're a potential sponsor. And I give a balderdash to that, because how can I give away what I don't have? I'm working for it, and I want to be able to do it when it's time to do it right. But just because I've been sitting on my tush for a year doesn't mean I'm able to give it away yet.
Well, you're a case of arrested development, that's all.
That's okay, but we'll be there. When we're there, we're ready to give it away, but not yet. And so when I'm thinking that after you've gone through the steps and know it, when I've got a firm hand to the man above, then I can go ahead and give it to someone else and complete the triangle.
Yep.
And add on and on and on. And so that's why I think that when people are saying, man, I'm dying for a relationship, but I got to wait 2 more months, and I'm like rattling my brain around saying, what you really need is to be able to go ahead and find somebody who has a good relationship with God, and then they can give it to you. Yep. And that's what you want. But nobody describes it like that. It's as if it's a waiting game. Time will get you there.
Well, time doesn't have to do with it.
Pardon?
Time has nothing at all to do with it.
No.
It's a question of when do you put the work in?
Absolutely right.
You got to figure out when you want to get well. How soon do you want to get well? You can sit around and wait for 5 years. If you make it, God bless you. But most people can't do it. So, all right. Listen, before we close up this meeting, would a couple of you guys stick around while Marilyn is here, because I don't see Tom. I don't know what happened to him tonight.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I understand.
And it would be a good idea, I think, to get the lights turned off and there are bolts on both the side door and the front door. We can get those locked.
Yeah, right, just leave this
We'll leave this one open.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Get the lights off and the air conditioning off and everything.
All right, then.
Will you?
That'll be fine.
All right, let's close the meeting. Let this circle represent the unity of our fellowship. A moment of silence for those who are still suffering. Then we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Please remember in the stairway group, we don't say anything after we say amen. Thank you. Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tom, remember what you need to do? You need to lock up in that. Let me follow you around whenever.
Tom, will you make me a copy of the sponsorship meeting today?
I just started putting it on this one. Nice to
Are you going to meet tomorrow?
Should be there.
Okay. I looked for you last week and didn't see you.
I didn't make it. I was